Okay, so today we are going to be putting a line drawing into a colored background of some sort. So first of all, I'm going to open up my line drawing, and you will see I've photographed something that I've pulled out of my sketchbook. And first thing I'm going to do is use the crop tool, which is over here, and I'm going to cut away everything I don't need from my drawing. And that will crop it out. I tend to work very close to the sides of my sketchbook and my drawings. So if you need to add a little bit of breathing room, a little space to your drawing, you can actually use the crop tool in a different way and use it with generative AI, where you are going to pull out and then pull up and hit generate. And what that will do is it will basically fill in new areas of your document to look like your original page. Now, as you know, AI is crazy and likes to do all its creative interpretations. Usually gives you three choices. You can pick the one that's the least weird. These are very weird. And I am going to head to my layers, and I'm going to flatten this, and then I'm going to clean up all the weirdness that Photoshop has decided to add to my drawing. So I'm going to use a tool called the patch tool, which is very handy. You can basically circle one part of your drawing and then click and drag, and it will copy from another area and basically clean up that section. Sometimes you have to do it in stages to get what you need, but just work through it. And let's try that again. Circle. Then the new area you pull to, it'll just copy it in. And I'm going to get rid of all the extras that Photoshop decided to add to my drawing, which I don't particularly want. Okay. Looking good. You can also see if there's any areas of your drawing that need some attention. Sometimes when they do the expand, you'll see there's this little line here that is from the original drawing. And then when it does the generative AI addition, sometimes there'll be like a little line there. In that case, I will do the patch tool again, click and drag, and it'll eliminate those lines very easily. Okay. Looking good. Okay. So before I actually put in another layer and add my image to it, I actually want to do one thing, and that is I want to darken my lines a little bit, and I want to lighten up the background. And in Photoshop, you always want to work on a layer, first of all, and then the old school way to adjust this would be image adjustments, brightness and contrast. You would, lighten it up a little bit, and then you would maybe beef up the contrast to try to get some of that happening. But there are better tools for this. And the one I like to use is called the curves. And the curves tool shows you kind of the value map of your image. Okay. And if you click on your curved line, you can lighten up areas and darken areas with a lot more precision than you can using just the lightness, darkness, and contrast. That's looking pretty good. Okay, so I want to put in a background of some kind. I'm just going to use the cookie. For this one, I've selected a nice parchmenty type shade color for my background that I want to composite this down to. And I'm going to head over to the cookie, and the way we put in our patterns, you can also put in a solid color. And if you have the whole layer selected, you will see it has put in an entire new layer of my chosen color. If I had a selection in there with the selection tools, it would just fill the selection. Okay, so now I've got my drawing on top and my color fill on the bottom, and you will get into our styles here where we are going to have various effects that will happen from that layer, and you'll see what's going to happen when I do the multiply. Is usually your best bet because basically it just darken sometimes works. There's various things and they do different things, but usually the multiply is the best bet for what we're doing. That's looking pretty good. And I'm going to, I like the way that looks. I'm going to now flatten my image again. So I have everything on one layer, which is my background. And sometimes you will find that when you use the multiply, it gets quite dark. So what you can do is go back to our adjustments curves, and you can curve up that layer. You can also actually access your curves through the cookie, and it'll create an adjustment layer for you right there. And you can lighten up a little bit and maybe darken up a little bit. And I like to do this on a layer and then play with the opacity. Bring the opacity down because that you can't see anything adjustment. Usually around 50, 60% looks pretty good. And that way you have lots of fine-tuned control for that curves layer that you have created. And there you go. And then when you've got everything you like, again, you can flatten the image. And you've got a beautiful line drawing on a colored background. This could also go on if you photographed a parchment paper. It could go on if you photographed a textured surface, and it would look like you had done the artwork on that textured surface.